I'm the real-life fake wizard. Between June 2nd and June 9th of 2026, the gaming industry put on 4 shows. PlayStation State of Play on the 2nd, Summer Game Fest on the 5th, the Xbox Game Showcase on the 7th, and a Nintendo Direct on the 9th. When the final one ended, I was left with one question. When was the last time any of these companies had to earn your attention? Because there was a time when they did. Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo used to walk into the same building in the same city during the same week and compete in front of a live crowd of die-hard fans and a press corps with slightly less loyalty than they have today. Each of them had to put on a show, because the other guys were putting on their own shows across the hall. That arena was called E3. It has been dead since December 2023, and what replaced it isn't a show at all. Today, gamers are subjected to boring, slop-filled, hollow infomercials. You see, the difference now is that they each own their own stages. They own all the cameras, and they own the calendar. They don't have to try anymore because they're not really competing anymore. And when you're not competing, you don't really care. Join us July 17th through the 19th at the Southeast Game Exchange in Greenville, South Carolina. Tickets are on sale now. I will be there. Lots of your other favorite creators will be there. There will be games and games and games and more games. We're running an entire indie circuit where you can get to experience new games from new creators and compete for prizes just for playing. Tickets are available now at the southeastgameexchange.com. We will see you there. The Electronic Entertainment Expo opened in May of 1995 at the Los Angeles Convention Center with roughly 50,000 attendees. For 1 week every summer, every major player in gaming held a press conference, live, on a stage, hours apart from one another, and were judged by the same die-hard fans and press corps in real time. This structure of everyone being in one place had very real competitive consequences. The idea that you'd have all the studios all in one place, all competing in the same venue, led to each of them, and not only just the individual studios here, but the console platforms too, competing with one another. It wasn't even friendly, per se. Like, it wasn't a friendly competition. It was just straight up yearly competition. When there were games and announcements that connected with audiences, the building shook and you could hear the crowds cheering on the live stream. When they announced Final Fantasy VII Remake, you had all these grown men in lanyards sobbing together. However, when a game or announcement bombed, we all knew in real time what went wrong, and you could tell in real time. When Sony announced the $600 price tag for the PlayStation 3, everyone was mad. When Xbox announced the mandatory Kinect, the always online components, the disc DRM nonsense, and, well, all the other terrible choices for the Xbox One, you could feel the tension in that room. Hours later, Sony responded to that terrible Xbox One showcase with a 22-second video of 2 executives handing each other a disc, and a $399 price tag for the PlayStation 4. Within 7 calendar days, Microsoft reversed its DRM policies because they were publicly shamed worldwide. The head-to-head competition forced one of the largest corporations on Earth to surrender an anti-consumer policy in under a week. Competition forces companies to do better for their customers. One more story to keep in mind here because it'll come up a little later. In 2005, Sony showed a Killzone 2 trailer at E3 and presented it as gameplay. It wasn't. It was pre-rendered footage. The press caught it, it became a scandal, and every Killzone announced since has been interrogated frame by frame. Faking footage in the arena got you caught, because the arena was crawling with people whose job it was to catch you. It was also crawling with fans, and that's something worth mentioning too. Yes, there was journalists at E3, and yes, there was shills, but there was also tons of fans. The die-hard fans, the most loyal fans went to E3. Today, almost all of these events are considered press events, and it's just journalists and just content creator shills. Wizard, E3 was a bloated, overpriced mess, and you know it. Yeah, it was. I'm not saying it wasn't. The trade show had a lot of real problems. But let's look at how it died. The 2023 show was canceled in March of that year after Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo all confirmed they would not attend. They were able to use the COVID pandemic as part of the leverage to not attend, but this would be the first time since 1995 that no console manufacturer would show up. On December 12, 2023, the Entertainment Software Association shut it down permanently, saying the show did not garner the sustained interest necessary. Whose interest? You were still watching. I was still watching. Lots of us were still watching. It was the platform holders that lost all the interest, because look at what they got instead. The direct model, the state of play model, the showcase model. They own the channels now. They can announce things in their own way, in their own time. And when we say that Xbox won the showcase round this summer, it doesn't really mean anything, because the events themselves are just 60-minute infomercials filled with third-party games and 1 or 2 first-party games. There is seldom any kind of hardware or software announcement, and even when there is, it's rushed over as if to not slow the show down from revealing that we can buy yet another Fallout 76 expansion that only 12 people want. What we have today is the platform holders engineered every public accountability mechanism out of the announcement format on purpose, and the industry at large keeps calling it progress. I spent over a decade in corporate marketing before I put on this silly costume, and from inside a marketing department, this is the dream. You have total message control, and there are 0 variables. You control everything. But they optimized out all the risk. A boxing match makes you train. What these companies do now is shadowbox alone in the garage, mail everyone the tape, and announce that they won. Every year the tapes get lazier, because why wouldn't they? They don't care anymore because there is no real opponent. The story of what happens when consequences disappear is called Perfect Dark. Microsoft announced the reboot at the Game Awards in December 2020 as the debut project of The Initiative, a studio founded in 2018 and marketed as Microsoft's Quadruple A team, with Crystal Dynamics brought in to help. 4 years of near silence followed. Then, at the Xbox Game Showcase in June 2024, Microsoft aired 3 minutes labeled as a gameplay reveal. It looked like the immersive games fans had wanted for a decade. And then on July 2nd, 2025, 13 months later, Microsoft shut down the initiative in a wave of layoffs and canceled Perfect Dark altogether. 7 years of studio existence, 0 games shipped. Kotaku's sources then described the showcase footage that we saw in 24 as basically fake. A former level designer on the project, Adam McDonald, pushed back with an honest version that this was an in-engine vertical slice with real systems built to be played exactly one way and, quote, didn't play well if you played it a different way. Now, yes, vertical slices are standard practice and part of a video game's development cycle, sure, 100%. But this was a deception. The 3 minutes of footage presented to the public as actual gameplay was a staged broadcast for a fake game. It was fake. Totally fake. What you're seeing here now, this is all fake. But let's put these two cases side by side. In 2005, Sony presented fake footage as gameplay, got caught by a live in-person audience, and had to deal with a scandal that followed the franchise for years. In 2024, Microsoft presented bogus footage of a game that was not anywhere close to being done, and there were no consequences at all. If this was presented live and in real time, it could have been held accountable because it would have been caught in real time. Microsoft would have been shamed for lying to the public. Instead, there are no consequences, and when the studio developing the game was shuttered, the access media and journalists and content creator shills boo-hooed the layoffs and jobs lost. I mean, this is the smoking gun. The modern-day showcase format launders unreality. And more than just lying, which these companies do frivolously, it allows them to be basic and boring with no accountability attached. Now that brings us back to all the broadcasts of June 2026, of which 3 of them were meant to be reassurances to customers that their decisions to enter that video game ecosystem was a good decision. You know, if you bought an Xbox, you should be confident in owning the Xbox, and here's why. But also, hey, here's a reason to buy an Xbox. After watching the state of play, you should be excited to go out and buy a PlayStation 5, or an Xbox, or a Switch 2. After the Direct, you should want to go out and buy all the consoles because you feel compelled to enter these apparatuses. These broadcasts are meant to make you excited, and you know what? They didn't do any of that for owners or buyers. Measured against that sales job, the June 2026 broadcasts are malpractice. Count the games from all 4 shows that can only play on the console being advertised. What reason do you have to actually buy an Xbox over a PlayStation? Or a Switch over an Xbox? Nearly every game is available everywhere. And of the games that are console exclusive, I don't know. Are you really going to spend nearly $1,000 to get a PlayStation 5 to play Wife of War, the Kratos replacement, with, oh yeah, Dungeons and Dragons side character lore? Or perhaps you're gonna go get an Xbox. Yeah, Gears E-Day is exclusive once more. Okay, except that means it's also a PC exclusive too. Everything on Xbox is also PC. See, they might have done away with that everything is an Xbox marketing campaign, but everything is still an Xbox. So that leaves Nintendo, who, yes, is putting out some interesting exclusives. We have Xenoblade Genesis, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, Ocarina of Time Remake, and all for the price of $80 physical editions. Yikes. You know who won the Summer Games Fest broadcast week? The Summer Games Fest. Jeff Keighley is the winner. Not because he had better games or a better show, but because his only goal was to advertise upcoming games, and he accomplished that mission. The other 3 entities' main goal was to encourage and incentivize you to either remain in or enter into $1,000 gaming ecosystems, and none of them did it. And that doesn't mean they need to ship all exclusive games. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that there is no reason to be a PlayStation player. Like, what's the upside? What do I get for buying this 6-year-old tech? Same with all of them, really. Same for Xbox, same for Nintendo. Meaning that another winner of this whole series is also Steam and PC gamers, because nearly all the games and software announced will be available on Steam and PC too, which actually turned out to be the best marketing for the upcoming Steam machine that Steam could have gotten, and I don't think they paid a dime for it. Hey, did you like all those games announced in June? Yeah, well, all but 5 of them will be playable on the Steam machine. Ain't that something? E3 as a trade show very much earned its obituary. It was flawed, and there were a lot of problems, but the loss and replacement of it with these mediocre broadcasts have allowed the AAA gaming industry just one more inch of less accountability. They don't need to compete as much anymore, or so they believe. And that brings us to right now, where there have been over 6 hours of streamed broadcast footage featuring trailers and announcements of upcoming games, and roughly 7 to 8% of it all was worth getting excited about. That's it, 7 to 8%. There is no show anymore. Now it's all just soulless commercials from companies who don't care. Until next time, create, innovate, inspire, and for the love of God, cancel Disney Plus.